Welcome. Today's video is going to be geared towards getting into reloading. So for anybody who's thinking about they want to start reloading, this video is for you. What we're going to talk about is the tooling and components that are involved in reloading. But before we get into that, I would encourage you to ask yourself why you want to start reloading. And if the answer is to save money, I'm not here to discourage you, but I want to tell you the truth. I would strongly urge you to consider what calibers you're reloading and if you're actually going to save money before you get started on this process. So for example, if you're reloading for 9mm and 5.56 and you think you're going to save money, well, you might be surprised. So do your research and make sure that you understand what you're getting into before you start investing in the tooling and components that are required. What I would say is that if you were reloading for calibers such as 44 Magnum, 30-06, 243, 300 Winchester Magnum, 300 short mag, those kinds of rounds, you can definitely save some money. And the good part is, one of the best parts about reloading and why I actually reload is because I know that I'm making custom ammunition for the rifles that I own, and I cannot buy that in the store. So that's why I reload. So before you go and make any purchases with regards to tooling or components, the first thing I would encourage you to purchase is a good reloading manual. On the bench here, you see the Richard Lee Modern Reloading 2nd edition. I would encourage you to get the latest edition of the Richard Lee Modern Reloading book. And the reason for that is because not only does it have great data when it comes to reloading information on pistol and rifle cartridges, but it also has a great section on every step of the reloading process, the different kinds of tooling that is involved, the different kinds of presses that are involved, and it really explains the why of what you're doing. And so it really helps you to understand why you're doing what you're doing with each step of reloading. And I think that's critical because the better you understand that and the more informed you are, the better decision you can make on what's going to work best for you. So let's start off with talking about the reloading press. What you see here is a single stage reloading press. There's a few different styles of reloading presses, and so there's a single stage, there's a progressive, and then there's a turret. I have a single stage, and I also have a progressive press that I may show later on, but what I would recommend to start off with is a single stage. And the reason for that is, again, going back to what I just talked about, was understanding why you're doing what you're doing, understanding every step in the process, and making sure that you're reloading safely before you move on to something like a progressive press. And the single stage, I don't use the single stage for 9mm and 5.56, but I use a single stage exclusively for my hunting rounds. So when we're talking about 30-06 and 300 Winchester Magnum, that kind of a thing, it's exclusively done on a single stage. Just my preference, and it may be different for you, but that's what I like to do. So you definitely need a press. The other thing you're going to need is dies specific to the caliber that you're reloading for. The dies are what's going to shape the brass and seat the bullet and crimp the bullet and all of that. So that's going to be very important. You're going to need a set of calipers to measure the overall length of the cartridge. That's critical. And that is in the reloading manual. It'll state what the cartridge overall length should be. So you need accurate calipers to be able to measure that. You're going to need a powder funnel to get the powder into the cartridge. You're going to need a way to possibly be trimming cases. This is a case trimmer, so it trims the brass to length. You're also going to need something to chamfer and deburr, and a good case gauge always helps as well to make sure that your ammo that you're producing is the correct fit for the chamber that it's going to be shot out of. So all of that, again, is detailed in a good reloading manual, so you understand what that means, what the process is. You'll also need a loading block so that you can set your ammo in there as it's being completed. And then of course you're going to need components. So you're going to need brass, you're going to need bullets, you're going to need primers, and you're going to need powder. So it sounds like a lot, and it really is. But there's ways to get all of this stuff, and what I would recommend is to start with, start looking at the kits that are available out there for reloading. And it's going to have not all of what you need, but it's going to have a lot of what you need to get started in reloading. And so some of the brands that offer reloading kits are Lee, RCBS, Hornady, and they offer really good kits. And so the good thing is that, you know, there's something out there for everyone. Do your research based off of what you get out of the reloading manual, all the information that's in there. Do your research there, and then you'll understand what you want. Do you want a single stage? Do you want a progressive? You know, do you want to go with, you know, maybe you're value minded, you don't have a big budget, you're just getting started, you want to go with the cheapest available. That doesn't mean cheap in quality, that just means cheap in price. You might want to look at Lee. If your budget's a little bit bigger, maybe you're going to consider something from RCBS or something from Hornady. But there are options out there. So that kind of covers the brands and a few of the brands, not all of them, just a few of the brands and some of the kits. What's in the kits? So in the kits, you're usually going to have a press, you're going to have a funnel, you're going to have a scale. It could be a digital scale, or it could be a balance beam scale. Okay, you're going to have usually a way to trim your cases, and you're going to have a way to chamfer and deburr the case mouth. So you're still going to need more things on top of that. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, see what your kit has. You may need to add things like a good set of calipers, or maybe your kit comes with that. What I would recommend, and I don't think that any of the kits have them, is a good set of check weights to verify that your scale is accurate. An accurate scale is critical when reloading. The other thing your kit is not going to have is a good case lube. I personally recommend Dillon case lube. I've never had any issues with it, and it works really great for me. So that's just an overview of some of the tools that you'll need to get started. I would really recommend, like I said, getting a good manual, doing your research, and then verifying what each kit has. And you can get a single stage kit, you can get a progressive kit. It's up to you. So one thing that I want to show you is, you know, that's a single stage. What does a progressive look like? And as we take a look here, this is my Dillon 550. And so what is a progressive press? What it does is you will feed the brass in, and it can either auto index depending on what you buy, or it will manually index. This one manually indexes. And so what happens is you would have your resizing, your powder drop, your bullet seating, and your crimping die all right here on the press ready to go. And you would feed it brass, and you would resize it here and prime it. Then the powder would drop here. Then you would index it over here to this stage, and you would put a bullet on there, seat the bullet, advance it to the last stage, crimp it, advance it again, and it's going to dump a loaded round into here. And as you get everything full on each stage, you're doing this all at once. Every pull of the handle is producing a loaded round of ammunition versus the single stage. So the single stage is exactly what it says. It's a single stage. Every time you want to change to the next stage, so for example, if you start off with you know, a decapping die and resizing, right? So you're knocking out the primer and resizing it, and you want to go on to belling the case mouth of a pistol cartridge, you're going to have to put the next die in. Do that stage. You want to seat a bullet? Put that die in. Seat the bullet. You want to crimp it? Put the crimp die in. Crimp the round. Okay? So, but again, good way to learn. Okay? Good way to make sure you understand the process. Good way to make sure that things are done right. So I hope that gives you an overview of what's involved in starting to reload. Now what I want to tell you a little bit about reloading, now that we've covered some of the tools and the components that you're needing, I want to talk a little bit about why to reload. I mentioned earlier that you might not necessarily be, you know, saving money as you go and reload 9mm and 5.56. But what I will say is that I've been reloading for, I don't know, almost 12 years now. And reloading is really a long game. It's not, hey, get into reloading and start saving money immediately. But once you get the tooling in place and you have the components that you have all the tools that you need to start reloading, you can start sourcing your components. And when, you know, the times are that things are tough, you don't buy. And when things are available and at a good price, you buy. And what happens is that over time, you accumulate what you need to be able to shoot more. So I would, again, caution you to do your research, but have an open mind and think about not just being able to save money, but being able to shoot more. And so, you can often buy bullets when they go on sale. Doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. Sometimes you see powder on sale and you buy that particular powder and you use that and you go through that. Sometimes you can use, see primers on sale as well. You get that. Sometimes there's forums where you can trade stuff and you're able to go and trade some, powder for primers or vice versa. And there's ways to just attain things and maintain the amount of ammunition you want to have on hand so that you can practice and you can shoot, you can hunt, you can do the things that you want to do. The other thing I would encourage you to look at as you're tooling up and getting ready to start reloading is, look at what the retail cost is for the particular kit you want, and then check places like Marketplace or Craigslist and see if there's one for sale in your area. Somebody may have bought it with the intent to getting started in reloading, and they didn't do their research, and then they realized, hey, this isn't right for me, and I don't need this anymore. And oftentimes you can get it at a really good discount, so it'll be a really good way to get started. So that's all I have for today. If you like the video, please like the video. You can consider subscribing, would be great. Thank you for your time.